Hey guys, so I'm gonna try something, a new website, or new app, I should say, to record a math lesson. We're gonna do some practice today, reviewing area of rectangles. So I'm gonna go through the worksheets. I'm gonna do some practice problems with you, and then post this, and then post a blank worksheet for you to either print off or you can record your answers on a piece of paper and take a picture of it and submit it to me. So let's try this out. Again, this is review of area of rectangles. I'm going to use red so you can see it. Okay. I'm going to delete it. Okay. All right. So area is always measured in squares of some size. The sum size part, so the sum size part is our units. So for example, down here we have centimeters, here we have millimeters. You could also have miles or inches. So it's a unit of measurement, standard unit of measurement. So that's what it means by sum size. So again, we're measuring squares. When we write, we use what's called a superscript, and that's just the number 2 because it's 2 dimensions. So we have length and width, also could be base and height. So we have 2 dimensions. So we write a little 2 up there when we're writing area. And then we have a unit of length to indicate the square. For example, 120 centimeters squared means 120 square centimeters. So 120 cm is centimeter, and then that number 2 means square. So in this example here, we have the area of this square is 1 square centimeter of 1 centimeter squared. This one here, we have 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters. So each tiny square has an area of 1 square millimeter. So each of these is 1, each little one here is 1 square centimeter. To determine the area, to figure out the area, we multiply 10 millimeters times 10 millimeters. And that gives us 100 millimeters. And then our superscript here, 2, means 100 square millimeters. So finding area is relatively easy. It's basic multiplication. And you're multiplying these 2 numbers together, and you're finding the measurement in square units of the inside of a rectangle or a square. So you can use multiplication to find how many square inches this rectangle covers. So again, we have 2 inches times 4 inches. So 2 inches times 4 inches equals 8 inches squared. Here we have another one, and this is just 1 by 1. And if you remember from multiplication, 1 times 1 is 1, but it's a square unit. So the area of this square is 1 mile times 1 mile equals 1 square. Sometimes we'll end up with problems like these that do not have our numbers. And what we have to do here is we just have to count. So if no particular unit of length is given for the sides, we just use the word unit for the lengths. The area is then, here we have 1. So I'll try this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I counted the length, we'll call that length, and then we'll call this height. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're just multiplying 7 times 4. So 7 units. We're going to use the word units here because it does not tell us whether it's a mile or an inch or a millimeter. We're just going to use the word units. So if no particular unit of length is given for the sides, we just use the word unit for the length. The area is then 7 times 4, and 7 times 4 is 28 square units. If the figure is some other shape than a rectangle, we will still use the little squares to measure its area. It is more difficult to find out how many little squares it covers, and we may have to use partial or fractional squares as well. So we're not going to do a ton of these, but if you had something like this, you would make little squares. And what you would want to try to do is find your whole squares first. You would count the area, and then you would add them up. And most of the time you'd get an estimate. Some of these, it's difficult to see what fraction. This one right here is almost like a half. One right here, or a third. But we're not going to worry too much about that right now. So we're just going to practice using multiplication to calculate the area of these rectangles. We want to remember to include our units because we're labeling. We want to make sure that we're clearly communicating what we're measuring here. So again, this is pretty straightforward. We're looking at 3. So 3 centimeters across, 2 centimeters up. So I'm writing 3 times 2. And again, these are centimeters. And my answer is 6 centimeters squared. So here we have 1 foot by 1 foot. So 1 times 1. Here we have 8 times 4. Okay. So let's go to the next page here. And I'm just going to do the first one in each of these to help you figure out how to figure out what this is, how to solve these problems. So in this one, we're finding the missing measurement. So we have the area, we have 40 square inches, and we have 8 inches here. So what we're trying to find is this. I'm circling it right here. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and we're going to take 40. So now I'm going to write up here, and I'm doing 40 I can't really write it. Doesn't divided by 8. So that's my missing number here. So 40 divided by 8. The other way I can write this, of course, is 8 into 40. So how many times can I fit 8 into 40? So remember, 2 times 8 is 16, 3 times 8 is 24, 4 times 8 is 32, 5 times 8 is 40. So my answer is 5. Sorry, that's kind of messy, but doing my best. So 40 divided by 8 is 5. So you can do this in your head if you want. You can use a multiplication table. You can use a calculator as well. So my answer here is 5. So 5 inches. So same one here, same one here. So you're doing the same thing. You have the area, and then you're using division to figure out the missing measurement. All right. So here we have an A. So we're writing an equation. So it's a multiplication with an unknown for the area. So we don't know something, so we're adding something called a variable here. And here we're doing S for side. So this letter is just what we don't know. Up there, they use just a blank line. Here, we're actually putting in a letter. So how do we write something like this out? Well, area equals blank times blank equals blank. All right, so we have an equal sign here, we have an equal sign here. So area, I'm gonna skip this part here for right now. Area is gonna equal, well, I have the area. It's right there. So area equals 96 centimeters squared. This is really practice writing equations. So area is going to equal some number times another number. And I have my other number, one of my numbers right here, I have 12. And if I'm writing an equation, I'm writing that S there. That S is my unknown, and I want to solve for S. So 12 times S equals 96. 12 times S equals 96. So I want to figure this out. So I have multiplication, so what I'm going to do is the opposite of multiplication, and I'm going to do 96 divided by 12. So 96 divided by 12. So how many times does 96, how many of these can I break apart into groups of 12? Well, I'm going to use some basic estimation here. So I know if I multiply, if I think about this as a 10, I'm going to think about this as a 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about 10. 12 is almost 10. So I'm going to think about 10 times, let's see, 9. Let's see, if I do 10 times 9, I would have 90. So 10 times 9 is 90. Now I'm going to have to do something with this 2 here. So I have 10 times 9 is 90. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about, I have that 2, and I'm going to also multiply that by 9. So 2 times 9 is 18. Okay, well, I'm gonna kind of stop right here. I already know that if I add these together, I'm gonna have way more than 96. So S is not gonna be 9. So I'm gonna go one number less than 9, and I'm gonna go to 8. I'm gonna try 8. So I'm gonna try 8. So I'm gonna, again, think of this, break apart this 12 as a 10 and a 2. And think of that as 10 and 2. So 10 plus 2 is 12, so I'm just going to think of that as 10 and 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply that by 8. So I'm going to multiply 8 times 10. I can do that in my head. 8 times 1 is 8. Put the 0. I have 80. Okay. It's kind of goofy looking 8. But now I have that 2 left over, so I'm going to multiply that times 2. So I'm going to do 2 times 8. 2 times 8 is 16. I'm going to put that there. Think about this. Okay, now I have 0 plus 6 is 6. 8 plus 1 is 9. That's 96. Okay, so I figured it out. My S is actually 8. All right, so you can do it this way. You can break apart the number and use some estimation and do some trial and error. I'm okay with you guys using calculators as well. Just practice writing these equations. All right, so number 4, it says write an equation, so a multiplication with an unknown, like our S, for the area, then solve. So the area of a rectangle is 45, and its one side measures 45 meters squared. and its one side is 9 meters. So how long is the other side, S? So I'm going to write out an equation. So this looks like my side and my side. So I'm going to put my answer here. So it's 45 meters squared. Okay, now I have one of mine, so I have 9. And then I'm multiplying times my unknown, my S. So I have to figure out what S is, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to take 45 and divide it by 9. So to get an S alone, I'm going to divide this side by 9. I end up with 1. So kind of would look like this. So here's my 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So I can cancel out. It's kind of another way to do it. Now I'm just left with S. And ironically, the S kind of looks like my answer. My S looks like a 5. So S equals 5. Because I did 45 divided by 9. 45 divided by 9 is 5. All right. So try to do this one. This one's actually, it's a bigger number, but just think about how we use zeros. Okay. So you can cross out and cancel out some of those zeros. Try that. This problem is a plan for a doghouse. In the grid, the side of each little square is 6 inches. So the side of each little square is 6 inches. So each little square. So each of these squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, is 6 inches. Okay, so 6, 6, 6, 6, 4 sixes. This is also 6 inches. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So you have to figure out how many squares I have and then multiply by 6. So this is a couple step problem here. Go ahead and see if you can solve that. All right, the last part of our review here. If we think of this rectangle as 2 rectangles, okay? So we have 2 rectangles. We can write an area as 3 times 3, and then we're adding them together. So 3 right here, 3 right here, 3 times 3. I also have a 5 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have a 3 right here. So these are 2 separate shapes. So I have 3 times 3 to get the area here. And I have 3 times 5 to get the area here. What you notice is we can think about this another way. If we think about it as 1 rectangle, so here we thought about it as 2 rectangles, so that's 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 5 is 15. And I can add those together. A shortcut for that is thinking about it as 1 rectangle. So we add 3 plus 5 together. So we do 3 times 3 plus 5. So we're doing the same math here. We're just writing it differently based on the properties of multiplication. So 3 times 3, area of the first part is 9. Area of the second part is 15. So if we think about that, the answer is 24. Right? So think about how you would do these. So the first way I would do this, I'll do this one with you guys, number 6. So write a number sentence for the total area. All right, so one constant we have is this side here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know this first number is going to be 4. The thing that changes is the bottom part. We'll call that the base or the width. And here we have 2. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5. Okay. So how do we write that? Well, we could solve this right here, but we're going to practice our equations, so we're going to think about breaking this up. We're going to do 4 times 2. And what you're doing is you're multiplying this 4 times this, and then you're multiplying the 4 times this. So 4 times 2 plus 4 times 5. So that would be my answer. And you're going to do the same thing down here. All right. So number 7 and number 8, I want you to try to do on your own. All right, try to do those on your own. So we have 7, A and B, 8, A and B and C. And that is it for this review of finding area. All right, so good luck. We'll do a drop-in tomorrow, Thursday, if you need any help with this. Again, give your best effort. This is a little bit of review. A few things are new. This writing equations is a little new, so if you struggle with that, I can help you figure it out. All right, good luck.